Hello and welcome to DetoxToRehab Presents Daily Reflections. My name is Brandon, I'm your moderator, and today we have Bianca, Breana, and Connor. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Awesome.
Hi, Brandon.
Just so everyone knows, we didn't plan on matching. It just kind of happened that way.
So embarrassing.
How was your guys' weekend?
Good.
Great. It was really good. It was so nice out. So nice out.
That's true. Cardinals won. That's good too.
There we go.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and go into the first topic on our segment today, which is the topic of acceptance. We admitted we couldn't lick alcohol with our own remaining resources, and so we accepted the further fact that dependence upon a higher power could do this impossible job. The moment we were able to accept these facts fully, our release from the alcohol compulsion had begun. And that's from page 109 of As Bill Sees It. Goes on to say, freedom came to me only with my acceptance that I could turn my will and my life over to the care of my higher power. Serenity seeped into the chaos of my life when I accepted that what I was going through was life and that my higher power would help me through these difficult times, and much more as well. Since then, they have helped me through all of my difficulties. When I accept situations as they are, not as I wish them to be, then I can begin to grow and have serenity and peace of mind.
That was beautiful. Connor?
So acceptance for me kind of has two parts. One is actually accepting what's going on around me when I accept the situations as they are, and then I have to do something about it, right? I find out when I join the program that I can reach a connection with something that's my own higher power, and when I'm able to turn my will over as best I can then take the actions that I think are right, that follow the will of my higher power, and it leads me to some really good things.
Yeah. Okay, so I really like what you said, and acceptance for me is difficult because I can tolerate a lot of things, but I can't necessarily accept them. And an example of that would be accepting when my dad was in the hospital. Like, he broke his pelvis and he was in and out of the hospital, and they found out he had kidney cancer, and it was just a really bad situation, and I could tolerate it because I could be there for him, and I didn't want to accept that it was happening. I didn't want to let it go and give it to my higher power because I was afraid if something were to happen, I would have a resentment towards my higher power, if that makes sense. And it took me a while to sit down and be like, okay, you know what, this is happening, and you know, my higher power is having this happen for a reason. So just accept it and move on and just pray about it, because that's all I could do at the time was pray about it. And you know, since then, he has helped me through all my difficulties, and when I accept situations as they are, not as I wish them to be, then I can begin to grow and have serenity and peace of mind. And that's exactly what that gave me, was serenity and peace of mind, because I knew something higher than me, something that got me sober and clean from where I came from, is watching over my dad, and I was totally fine with it. I was good with it because I knew that if my higher power could have taken me out of where I was, he was going to get my dad through whatever, and whatever was supposed to happen was going to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It is extremely hard to do that sometimes, though. It's easier said than done in a lot of cases. Like, for one instance, for me, is one of my best friend's daughters is the same age as my daughter, and she passed away. My daughter's 2, and my friend's daughter was 2 as well. She passed away. And that was something that was extremely hard for me to accept, because it hit so close to home for me. And it was just really, it was hard for me to come to terms with it because I I didn't I didn't want to believe that could possibly like happen to my daughter. That could possibly be my baby. And I mean, it wasn't my baby, but I'm just saying like that could happen. It happened to one of my good friends, and it's really sad, and it just depends on the situation. Like some things are a lot easier to accept than other things. Some things are really hard to let go of. Um, but the sooner that you let go of those things and the sooner that you accept them, like it says, for what they are, um, the easier life gets and the easier it is to get through everything and to get through every situation. That's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
But it is
With
difficult.
acceptance, I have a question. Like, what's one thing that you have to accept daily in your like sobriety? Like, what's the one thing you have to wake up and be like, okay, I have to accept this today?
Well, I'm a drug addict, first of all, so that is kind of the first key thing, at least when I got sober, is like, oh man, I'm introduced to all these things, and every day still, after a couple of years, it's like I have to remind myself that I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, my brain works a little bit differently than normal people, and recognizing that right away and accepting that right away, even just as like my day starts, it reminds me and it helps me to understand and accept the situations that are going on in my life and how I might react to them. And part of it too, I think, is not living so much in the past.
Right.
And that's kind of hard to do, especially when difficult situations like that happen. Staying in the present moment is a huge part of acceptance, because it's what can I do now instead of, oh man, this happened, or that, or it's just about being there and doing as much as I can for whoever I can.
Like basically accepting that, I'm not in control anymore. Because if I know, for me at least, if I'm in control, like I get myself high, but if my higher power is in control, like I'm going to be on the right path that I need to be on if I keep doing the things necessary to stay clean and sober.
Connected.
Connection.
You want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys for sharing with that. Next, we have the Just for Today. Today's title is Fellowship. Let me try that again. So, in recovery, our joys are multiplied by sharing good days. Our sorrows are lessened by sharing the bad. For the first time in our lives, we don't have to experience anything alone. And that's from IP number 16 for the newcomer. When we practice, and this is a bit of a long one, so bear with me. When we practice using the steps and the other tools of our program to work through our hardships, we become able to take pleasure in the joys of living clean. But our joys pass all too quickly if we don't share them with others. While hardships borne alone may be long in the passing. In the fellowship of recovery, we often multiply our joys and divide our burdens by sharing them with one another. We addicts experience pleasures in recovery that sometimes only other addicts can appreciate. Fellow members understand when we tell them of the pride we take today in fulfilling commitments, the warmth we feel in mending damaged relationships, the relief we experience in not having to use drugs to make it through the day. When we share these experiences with recovering addicts and they respond with similar stories, our joy is multiplied. The same principle applies to the challenges we encounter as recovering addicts. By sharing our challenges and allowing other members to share their strength with us, our load is lightened. The fellowship we have in recovery is precious. Sharing together, we enhance the joys and diminish the burdens of life in recovery. Just for today, I will share my joys and my burdens with other recovering addicts. I will also share in theirs. I am grateful for the strong bonds of fellowship in recovery.
Connection.
Again.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I like how it says for the newcomer from that, because it's so important. When I was new, at least for me, I had to kind of open up and live more transparent, right, and let the people around me know what was going on, because getting sober is difficult for anybody. It's something that you can't take on yourself, right? And if you don't have an established connection with a higher power or something guiding you right away, and most likely you're not going to if you're just getting sober, then it's easier, it's more understandable to relate to the people around you.
Yeah.
Especially people that have been through things that I've been through. The fellowship is one of my favorite parts of this. My friends in recovery and working in recovery is incredible. Connections that I've never felt before I got sober. It's a beautiful thing.
No, I completely agree with you, because what I was lacking in my addiction was having bonds with people. Like, I had some issues from the past, and I just didn't want anyone around me in my life. I wasn't comfortable with anyone. I didn't want to trust anyone, and I couldn't really let go and be the person who I truly am, because I was afraid of what judgment other people would put against me. And when I'm fellowshipping with people in 12-step programs, like, I feel just so accepted and loved, and I feel like I've never felt before. Exactly what you were saying. Like, it's crazy, because I never thought that I would be the type of person that can be myself, but because of recovery and because the 12-step fellowships that I partake in, like, I can be the person. I can be weird. I can be crazy. I can be, I can even be an emotional wreck, and people will still be like, hey, like, I'm here for you. Like, let me know what's going on with you, and everything's gonna be okay, and it is okay, because all that truly matters is that I'm clean and I'm sober. Like, stuff's gonna happen and things aren't always gonna go my way, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world anymore, because I know how to accept, and I know how to live in the day and just for today. And I have people surrounded by me, like actual friends, that I never thought was possible. I didn't think I was gonna have friends. Like, I just thought people were there to use me, and I was there to use them. Like, that's all I knew, because that's how I basically, like, that's how I brought myself up, is, if you don't have anything for me and I don't have anything for you, what's the point of hanging out? And I just love, because my life's the exact opposite now. I can call one of my friends in recovery and just be like, hey, what are you doing? And go over to their house and do absolutely nothing. And they don't have anything for me. I don't have anything for them. And everything's just fine. And I have the best time. And just the fellowship, like, fellowshipping with other people in recovery is one of the most important aspects of my recovery. It's what helps me get through the day sometimes.
You miss out on it when you're getting loaded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know it.
Right.
Until you get sober and actually establish some of those friendships and connections. It's
like addiction and isolation go together, and recovery and fellowship and connection go together.
Definitely.
And like keeping secrets and addiction and isolation and opening up and recovery and being honest and sharing, and I don't know, it's just like the light and the dark.
Right.
Right.
Completely like two separate sides. And it's crazy. I don't know, just like getting clean and like seeing the difference on, and on both sides, like going from being completely alone and having no one, and like just having like all this crap inside and not really having anyone to talk to about it, and just like hating my life and hating everything that I've done to where I've come to, and just everything. To like being able to talk to, people that I love dearly today, and opening up and telling them exactly what's on my mind and exactly how I feel, and it just feels so much better. And just to get everything off of my chest, it feels a lot better to be able to do that today. Because I don't have to use anymore, which is an awesome feeling. It feels amazing. It really does.
At the end of the reading, at the Just for Today, it says, "I'm grateful for the strong bonds of fellowship and recovery." I'm also grateful for the strong bonds I had that I ruined in my addiction. Like, I'm grateful for the strong bond I have between me and my mom, and it got to
Family
the
and stuff.
point, like, my whole entire family, and it got to the point in my addiction where they didn't want to talk to me. Like, they wouldn't enable me regardless, but it was, picking up the phone was hard for them because they didn't know if their, daughter, if their aunt, if their sister was going to come home. And I was able, because of recovery, I was able to repair most relationships that I ended up messing up because of my addiction. And like, fellowship for me isn't just other people in like a 12-step fellowship. It's my family and the people closest to me that aren't even in a program. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I have family too that are there. They support me in my recovery as well. They're not necessarily in a 12-step program, but they're supportive 100% of me.
Right. And it'd
They
be
don't
hard
support your
without
addiction.
them.
What?
They don't support addiction,
Yeah.
that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So.
That's exactly. They're supportive of my recovery 100%, and that's all that matters. So it's awesome.
All right, well, I think it's time to go into the audience questions portion, and we have a question from audience user Claudia. She asks, are you still able to have a relationship with people you know in active, I'm assuming she means in active addiction, now that you are sober or clean?
Okay, so I have a scenario. There is, one of my friends called me yesterday actually, and was saying they're in active addiction right now, and they were saying, hey, I need help, hey, I don't know what to do, like, you're clean right now, you're clean and you're sober, you're doing so good, and I want what you have. And I told them that, I can't come and see you right now, I can't come and hang out with you because that would endanger, no matter how strong I think I am in my recovery, I'm not going to put myself around someone, this is just personally for me, around someone I know that is using, because it's just a danger to myself and to them. Like, I don't want to enable their behavior, and I don't want them to, or I don't want to end up messing up what I have going for me. But that doesn't mean you can't help them. Like, if they want help, or if they need someone to talk to, like, talk to them over the phone, talk to them on, direct message, text them. But I don't think you necessarily need to cut them out of your life completely, as long as it's for the right reasons. You're trying to talk to them. If you're trying to talk to them to get loaded, like, if you're trying to talk to them because you're having a bad day and you just know that they're getting high, and you just kind of want that, like, feeling in your stomach, like, hey, talking to them makes me feel a little better because I know I'm so close to getting it, but at the same time I don't want to. If you guys know
I know what you're talking about.
Living vicariously.
Yeah,
through
living
it.
vicariously. And, like, it really just depends. Like, I don't cut out all the people in my life, but I don't have a close relationship with them as I once did.
Yeah.
I think it depends on where you're at in your recovery.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
I think that's the first question you should ask yourself. And if you are questioning whether you're doing things like just trying to be around it, like,
may not be the best.
I mean, the only time that I got sober and stayed sober this time, I made a clean break from everybody that I used to talk to.
Right.
And that was so important and necessary for me. I mean, I deleted Facebook. I didn't have a phone for a long time.
Yeah, same here.
I completely cut that part of my life out. But it's not, like, I'm in a lot different place than, after a few years, I have worked a strong enough program and been in the fellowship long enough and stayed connected, and I can go anywhere and talk to anybody without fear,
Right.
right, for myself. But but I do always, of course, check the reasons for why am I talking to this person.
Right.
You know, and if they were truly a friend, then they will understand that you might have to keep them at arm's distance.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't love them either. Like, it's just as long as you're spiritually fit. That's what it says in one of the books that I read. If you're not living vicariously with the program, then yeah, that's all I really have to say.
All right, we'll go ahead and go on to another question. The next question is, what was your turning point that led you to taking recovery seriously?
I mean, I took it seriously right away. You know, the consequences I had reached by the time I found recovery were, you know, I was going to jail, I was getting kicked out of wherever I was living, you know, I'm shooting heroin in a sketchy bathroom at a Circle K somewhere, or it just, my life wasn't a life anymore.
Yeah.
I was just using to the point of pain and suffering, and getting high didn't make me feel good anymore. It just temporarily numbed me enough to get through to the next high, if that, or I just get super sick and be stuck in whatever horrible situation I was in at the time. I just, for me, it just had to get bad enough.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to get as bad for everybody, and sometimes it has to get worse for some people. It just, there has to be a certain amount of desperation when you enter recovery for it to work. For you to be able to be motivated enough to do the work and, you know, change everything about your life.
And stay stopped.
Right.
Right. Do you have more?
No.
No. Okay, so yeah, what you were saying, like, just because if my bottom's worse or not as bad, like, doesn't mean, like, you need to go deeper in your addiction to get to the point I was at, or, like, no matter what. Like, for me, mine was more of an internal bottom than an external bottom. Like, I've already been homeless, like, not couch surfing, but actually homeless. I was already in and out of the hospitals. I have scars all over my arms because of shooting up heroin, where I actually had to get surgery. Like, that wasn't bottom enough for me. Losing my family wasn't bottom enough for me. It was something inside of me that I felt like if I could describe this feeling to you, I would, but it's absolutely impossible. Like, it's feeling I had in my heart and my stomach that I just knew that
Empty.
I was
Complete
empty.
emptiness.
And I knew that if I wasn't going to stop, I was going to die. The doctors told me, my family told me, people in the fellowship told me, and I didn't want to die. I wanted to be there to watch my life grow. I wanted to be there to watch me grow, if that makes sense. Like, I wanted to be in life. I didn't want to live the way I did anymore, and I was afraid of death. I was in fear of death, and everyone told me for such a long time, like, Bianca, you're going to die. But it finally came to the point where I saw it. Like, if I was to leave jail and go get loaded, that would probably be my last day, and I just didn't want it to. I didn't want it to end like that.
2 options.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jails, institutions, or death.
That's 3 options, but I mean, get sober or
die.
reap
Yeah.
the consequences.
Oh, okay.
Or die. Sometimes, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's sad. But
We'll go ahead and move on to another question. Let's see here. This one is from an anonymous user, and he says, I'm 22 and I've been addicted to meth for 2 years. I start rehab tomorrow, but I'm worried that it won't help. I desperately want to stay clean and start living this life in recovery, but I've failed 2 treatments already. How do you keep your cravings under control and stop yourself from using?
that's a hard question.
That's a hard question to answer.
Rehab's not going to do any worse to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, go for sure.
Yeah.
And learn from it. If it doesn't happen this time, at least you have more tools for next time to live by, basically.
Mhm.
Like for me, my cravings just went away. Like I didn't.
Magic?
Yeah, it was like they're gone.
Well, I
But you
feel
did
like
work to
I
get
did.
there.
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. Like
I feel like
worked
you have
the
to
steps and-
want it though. You have to really want it bad enough. Like we were just saying, question prior, you have to hit your personal rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't really know if that's your rock bottom of rock bottoms until until you get clean and you've stayed clean and you're like, oh well, that was my rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know?
Um.
That is a hard question to answer.
But if the treatment center you're going to works with the 12-step fellowship, like what happened for me to control my cravings was meetings, praying to a higher power, keeping in contact, fellowshipping with people, accepting that I'm not in charge anymore, and just living my life day to day. Craving only lasts a few minutes.
Ooh, and something that my sponsor would always tell me was, I can't think of the right word, but basically like, I can't think of the right word, like prolonging my relapse like another 24 hours. So instead of
Procrastinating a relapse.
I can't think of the
Like,
right word.
I'll get high tomorrow.
Yes.
And then the
Yeah.
next day you're just like, I'll
Yes.
get high tomorrow. Because you live
Prolonging
24
it.
hours in a
That's what
day,
I said,
right?
Yeah.
prolonging 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Perfect. It was
Okay,
perfect.
Yeah.
okay, all right, I used the right word. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a such thing as failing treatment.
No, not at all.
You know,
You always learn something.
right. I mean, the first time I got sober, I went through treatment and I gave it an honest effort, right? And I made a few mistakes. I didn't follow direction. I didn't follow the path as well as I should have. And I ended up getting high. You know,
Right.
not because I wanted to, just because I didn't stay connected.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I firmly believe that if you work a thorough and honest program, and when you get cravings, you distract yourself and stay busy and try to do positive things for other people so you
Fellowship.
can... Right, fellowship is huge. And no matter how new you are, you can always do something for somebody else. And that was a huge part of my recovery when I was new.
Right.
A huge part. It definitely gets you out of yourself.
And you never know what someone else is going through. So if you even go up to someone, hold the door open and give them a hug, like that might save them. That might save... They might have wanted to go pick up and get high, but that hug may have stopped them, and they might share about that. Like, just get out there and do what Connor said, and just distract yourself in healthy ways.
All right. Move on to another question. Another anonymous user has messaged us, and they're saying that they are feeling close to relapsing over life circumstances. They work so hard to change and to get better, to be different. They've worked the steps, done therapy, and they believe they've changed so much in recovery, yet in 4 years, they still haven't made any lasting friendships. They say, I feel like I'm going to be alone in this. Does anyone else feel this way, and what can I do to change it?
Get out there more. I mean, that's hard.
4 years
Yeah.
in recovery, and
Maybe
I don't know.
that's something to look at in yourself.
Right. I think, and that's what it usually comes down to for me, is when I'm struggling with something, there's things that I'm not looking at about myself.
Right.
And I think that trying to be more open and connect with other people is a big part of it. Sometimes I guess it doesn't work out.
But you tried.
Right.
That's what matters.
And there's so many people in the program that are completely open and friendly and will do anything for you even if they don't know you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get up if you try a 12-step meeting, and get up and be like, tell them what you told us. And I bet, like, you know, if you were here, I'd be like, hey, let's go get some coffee and talk. Like, let's try and figure this out together. And let's hang out and I can introduce you to some people, and there's going to be someone in a 12-step meeting that's going to look at you and say the same exact thing. You just got to get out of that shell, get out of your comfort zone, and just say it. And
service too.
yeah, service.
Service is a huge part of how I met people and
get people to know you.
and got immersed in recovery, right? Because
yeah.
it's all about it, and it's all about doing something for a greater cause too.
Right.
And I think that that's a part. I mean, having one goal is something that brings people together.
Right.
Service.
All right, we are just about out of time. We have one last question that I think is a good question.
Make
and
it
they
a
ask,
good one.
what is your favorite thing about living a life in recovery?
Oh gosh. Having a life.
Yeah.
Having the ability to not be possessed by a drug that completely takes over my body and my mind. Like, okay. And just being
Having options.
free, having options, not being able to shower every day, being able to sleep in my own bed, like being able to eat and not worry about when I'm going to get food next, and being able to smile and be genuinely okay with myself regardless of what's going on around me, and just being happy and having peace inside my heart is my favorite thing about recovery. Just having a life.
How long did it take you to get to that point?
Right when I surrendered to my higher power. So I felt something change in me. Like right when I surrendered and I prayed that I'm done with this shit and I'm ready to let go and let my higher power and accept, like that's when
Life starts to come back.
yeah, my life started to come back, and I was genuinely like okay. I was sitting in jail and I was totally fine with it. I was like, you know what, this is for my consequences of my addiction, and I'm gonna have to do what I have to do, and I'm totally cool with it.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Full circle
We just
of
went full
acceptance
circle.
right there.
What do you think?
What was the question again?
The question
What-
is, what is your favorite thing about living a life in recovery?
My personal favorite thing is being able to have, like, actual meaningful relationships with people. Not just, like, false, fake, shallow, whatever, very wishy-washy type relationships with people. The relationships I have with people today are deep and meaningful and true, and I can actually like open up to people now and trust people and consider people true friends now. Not just like an acquaintance or I don't know, it's just like a completely different type of relationship than what I've ever had in my entire life. And it's definitely a really cool feeling. And to be there, like fully, consciously be there for everything, like for family, for friends, for my daughter, for everything. To be there and have memories, and yeah, just like Bianca was saying, to have a life and to be able to remember it all.
Connor.
I mean, my life has changed so much, and it's like I've grown so much, and my relationships have grown so much, and I do have all these options and possibilities, and I've been relieved of the mental obsession. There's so many incredible things that have happened to me since I've got sober, and put in the work, and I recognize them more.
Exactly.
Right? And they have so much more meaning to me. Like small things, like the weather's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I put my windows down and I drive to work and I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And even like sitting there driving to work and thinking about my past and all the things that I've been through and put other people through, it's just an incredible feeling. It's not really something I can explain,
Yeah.
but it's
like
so
that
real, and it's
something
so
inside.
like fulfillment
Yeah.
is like the only word I can use to describe it. It's something that I never thought I would reach
Yeah.
when I was getting high. Definitely something I never thought I would experience, and it's like that breath of like, you know, like I'm all right, you know,
Like, oh
I'm
shit,
okay,
like, good.
right, like I'm not worried about going to jail. I'm not worried about ruining relationships with my family, and I'm okay. Like, my problems are very minuscule compared to what they used to be.
Right.
And just knowing that is incredible.
I
All
agree
right.
with
Well,
you.
we are just about out of time, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank Breana, Bianca, and Connor again for joining us. And I want to remind everybody that we do this every Monday, Pacific Standard Time, at 12 o'clock. So go ahead and start your week with us here at Detox to Rehab Presents Reflection.